All right, well, hey, we got something special we're going to do tonight that we've not done in a very, very long time. It's been actually a couple years since we've done something like this, so I'm really excited. Those of you that follow us on Facebook or Instagram and you see our social media, you saw that we have a special guest who many of you already know, but he is going to be sharing a story with us tonight, and we're going to kind of walk through some stuff. But first off, I want to introduce, if you do not know, everybody, this is Alex Barnes.
Hello.
So if you don't know, you can clap for him. That's perfectly fine. And what we're going to do tonight is we are going to hear a story tonight, and I'm going to help Alex kind of walk through a story to connect and talk to you. So this is what I need you to do. I need everyone to sit up in their seats. I need everybody to put their cell phones away. And I need for the next 20 to 25 minutes, I need your undivided attention. Alex and I have put some time into this, and we just ask the same respect we put getting into it, you give us back by just being respectful. And if you're not sitting up, leaders will help you sit up in your seats. They'll help you with your cell phones if you're having a cell phone problem. But I want you to pay attention tonight because I want you to hear this amazing story of what Alex is going to talk about. But before we start and get into all that, Alex, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us where you're from, where you go to school, what grade you in, what do you plan on doing after school, all that great stuff.
Yeah, no problem. My name's Alex, like you said. That's me, you can't really see it. I'm 18 years old. I go to Central High School out in the middle of nowhere, a little place called the Cove.
What do you want to do after school?
Oh, yeah. So I plan on becoming a nurse. I'm going to nursing school over the summer and following next 2 years. There's not much to me. I played volleyball, I did until the season ended. I'm in fine arts.
Plays guitar?
I play the guitar. I play instruments, yeah. Anything you can think of, I probably play it. I work at a car shop. That's about it.
That's about it. All right, well, in order to get to know Alex a little bit better, we're going to play a very quick game of Would You Rather. So you can join in on this game, but we just want to get some insight into Alex, his personality a little bit so that you can get. So very, very simple. There's going to be two choices. You'll see them on the screen. Students, you'll see them on the screen behind us, and we're just going to walk through Would You Rather. And you feel free to make your choice to what you would rather do. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So would you rather jump into a pool of Jell-O or jump into a pool of Skittles?
I'm wondering, I just want to know how it would feel to jump in a pool of Jell-O.
That was my response too. The
just texture and
what would it feel like to jump into Jell-O?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Like Skittles, you can kind of imagine what it would feel like if you even sink. I don't know.
Yeah,
but Jell-O, that'd be something. So I'd definitely pick Jell-O.
How many pick Jell-O? All right, that's a good pick. We like that. All right, next question. Would you rather surf in shark-infested waters or sit in a cage with a sleeping lion?
How long am I in the cage?
We'll say
till it wakes up.
Yeah, we'll say swim for 25 minutes and in a cage for 25 minutes.
I'd definitely sit in the cage with a sleeping lion.
How many would sleep in a cage with a sleeping lion? I don't know. How many would swim in shark-infested water? I don't know, man. I just can't get down. Can't get down with things I cannot see. All right, next one. Would you rather always talk in rhymes or sing everything you speak?
Well, I already basically sing everything I speak.
Yeah.
I always have a tune in my head, so I'm going to have to go with sing everything I speak.
Sing everything you speak. All right, that's good. All right, let's move on to the next one. Would you rather have an unlimited amount of chips or have unlimited amount of candy?
Candy.
So it's the sweet and the salt.
Candy.
Candy.
Sure.
Chips, salt, sweet.
Candy.
Any candy specific?
No, you can't have the same thing all the time.
But you just like the sweets. You like the candy.
Yeah, for the most part.
I'm a salt guy. I like the salt. I like chips. That's very good. All right, next one. Be ugly but rich. Be broke but sexy.
Broke but sexy.
Broke but sexy. I feel you on that one. I feel that in my soul. All right, let's go to the next one. Have a horse's tail or have a unicorn horn? Getting a little weird here.
This is getting a little weird. I'd have to go with a horse's tail.
Horse's tail.
Because with a unicorn horn, you'll always be looked at. With a horse's tail, you can like tuck it into your pants or something. You don't have to. Yes, you can.
You probably can't wear shorts.
Probably. Yeah.
Or go swimming.
I guess, yeah.
That would just be absolutely terrible.
Then again, how would you put on a shirt with a unicorn horn?
We couldn't wear a hat.
Yeah, you couldn't wear a hat. I like hats.
I like hats too. All right, next one. Read everyone's mind or have everyone can read your mind. Ooh.
See, if you read everyone's mind, you then know what everyone thinks of you.
Yes. But then if everyone can read your mind, then everyone knows what you think about them.
Read everyone's mind.
Read everyone's mind?
Yes.
How many would read everyone's mind? You'd rather read everyone's mind? Yeah, I'm sure.
I got a pretty messed up mind.
But yeah, I don't want people hanging around in here either. All right, next one up. The best player on a losing team or the worst player on a winning team?
Best player on a losing team.
Best player on a losing team? Yeah, that's from what you told me about volleyball, that sounds about true. So that's good. All right.
We had no wins on our volleyball team. So.
No wins. All right. All right, let's move on to the next one. Always smell like a boiled hot dog or always smell boiled hot dogs?
Always smell boiled hot dogs. I don't want to go to like a social event and be like people around me like, are you wearing a cologne that smells like boiled hot dogs? I don't want that. That just doesn't seem right.
Yeah. It's I don't know. This is a hard one. This is a tough one. Glad you're answering them, not me. All right, let's go to the next one. Live out in the country or live in the city?
Out in the country.
Country?
Well, city for a little bit, but country in like whenever I settle down, definitely country. I live out in the country now, and
you want to live in the city. All right. How many more we got? We got a couple more? I think we do. All right, 2 more. All right, let's go. Babysit crying infant triplets for 6 hours. Listen to the same Taylor Swift song for 48 hours. For 48 hours. Oh.
Listen to the same Taylor Swift song.
Well, can I just ask another question? Isn't it like the same thing? Just saying. Like, isn't it the same?
I mean, probably at the 48-hour mark, you'd probably think that it's about the same.
So what do you think you would pick?
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift? All right, that's good. I think we have one more, maybe. Yep. All right, this is our last one for Would You Rather. Spend 1 year sailing around the world or live 1 year in your favorite foreign country?
Live 1 year in my favorite foreign country.
And what foreign country would that be?
Germany.
All right. Well, so that's a little bit about Alex, a little bit about into his mind, so you can kind of understand where he's at and what he's thought about. But Alex, do me a favor. How did you really hear about Refuge? How did you hear about the program, coming here, meeting everybody, becoming friends with a lot of the students? How did you first hear about Refuge?
So I've been friends with Isaac Baker for a while. You probably know him. Probably my whole life.
Yes, we all know him.
And I'm sorry. But he, when he started coming here, that's whenever I first found out about Refuge, and I heard where he was going for youth group, and I was going to another church, his old church at the time, and we still had our youth group that I still went to, and then we left that church and started going to his church now, his dad's church, and at that point, I was in a wreck, and whenever I was in the hospital, my man Ryan and Isaac's dad came to the hospital and introduced me to Refuge. I mean, I already knew about it, but Ryan helped me see a little bit more about Refuge. All
right. Now, you alluded to an accident you had, and we will touch on that in just a brief moment, and we'll kind of go from there and talk. But can you do me a favor? Can you tell us last year, before the accident, at this time, what was some of your dreams, your goals? What were you planning on doing for the next year? Where was your mindset at? What were you looking forward to? Because you were a junior going into your senior year. And I know you were playing volleyball. You had a bunch of stuff that you had planned on doing. And so kind of let everybody know where you were at that moment. What you wanted to do and were planning on doing.
Well, I didn't really have any long-term goals at that point. I was just living every day as another one, and I was just working a lot and with volleyball and stuff. And I mean, I just really didn't have focus on the future. I mean, I knew I kind of wanted to get into nursing because my girlfriend's mom and my girlfriend, they wanted to do nursing, and they like kind of introduced it to me. And I knew that was an option for me, and I was kind of like leaning towards that as a career that I wanted to go into, but I wasn't like sure. I wasn't definite if that's what I wanted to do.
Okay. Now, what I'd like you to do, I'd like you, a year ago, you had this incident happen. Can you walk us through just that evening, what was going on, and just walk us through all the way up until until you landed into the hospital, and we'll pick it up from there. But just walk the kids through the story of what happened last year.
So, I've grown up in the church. I've always known right and wrong, and there was a point in my life last year that just I didn't care anymore. I was really doubting God and doubting if he even had power and if he even existed to that extent. And I've always had a drug problem. I've always smoked weed, and the night before my crash, I dropped acid. And the thing about acid is it takes what you are thinking and the mindset that you're in beforehand, and it intensifies it tenfold. And it's not good if you're not it's not good, especially if you are in the mindset that I was in. And at that night, I spent the night driving around, well, not me driving, but my brother. And I was just thinking, like, how could God be real when there is a substance this powerful? It wasn't right. And the following day, God taught me that. I didn't sleep at all the night before my crash, and I had to wake up early to take my girlfriend to work, her first day of work. So I take her to work. I wake up. I mean, I didn't sleep, so I just took her to work, and I tried to get a few hours of sleep between the time that I took her to work and I had to pick her up and stuff, but I didn't sleep. And eventually I picked her up, and it was almost time for me to get to work because I worked at 4:30. And so I left my girlfriend's house, and I woke up in the driver's seat of my car. It wasn't good. There was this teacher that was in my elementary school. I recognized her. She was at the window, and she was like, "You've been in an accident." At this point, I was just, I don't remember much, but I remember this. I remember certain parts of being in the car, but she was just like, "You've been in an accident. The ambulance is on the way." And so, next thing I remember is the sound of cracking of glass. That's not a pleasant sound to remember. They had to use the jaws of life to cut open my car like a can and just flip.
We have a
Oh.
picture of it behind here. If you want to just dim those lights for a minute, and you can show you can kind of see what the car looked like. How fast were you going when you
I
hit?
don't remember.
You don't remember?
No. The car behind the truck that I hit said that I was speeding, but there's no way of them knowing.
Yeah.
But I don't think I was going that fast. But
Yeah.
obviously, that tells
Yeah,
a
I
different
think
story.
I think we have another set of pictures too that you could probably put up there and just see how totaled the car was completely. And Alex was in this vehicle at the time of this accident. He was. I mean, he was.
I was actually trapped. They had to use the jaws of life to pick the dashboard up off my legs because they were crushed underneath.
And so you had this accident. You don't remember a lot of it. Fragments, bits, and pieces. This teacher talking to you, the glass shattering, kind of blacking out. Now, I know for us last year at this time when Ryan and us as really Refuge, we first met you. You were in the hospital, and you were in rough shape. Can you just kind of elaborate when you became aware and you woke up in the hospital? Can you kind of just walk us through the process physically, what had happened to you within this accident?
Well, I got to the hospital, and one of the first things that they did, I had a lacerated spleen, so they took me right in and got that situated. That was the first surgery that I had, but after that happened, I was talking. I was almost back to my normal self. I was making jokes and stuff while in the ICU, and I hurt. It hurt a lot. At that point, I mean, the adrenaline and the natural pain relievers were kind of going away. Oh yeah, just can't see them. But I was just making jokes, and what had happened was my left foot actually folded in half. It's called a Liz Frank fracture. So my foot folded in half. Both of my bones in my left leg were broken. I had to get a rod down through my leg, a titanium rod. Both my ankle nubs broke off. I had to get screws and plates and stuff. I broke a few ribs. Broke my arm. That's about all of my injuries.
Now, obviously, the recovery process
Yeah.
is and still is you're still in a sense recovering from stuff. How did you handle and how was this recovery process for you, walking through?
Well, I had a lot of support. I mean, my family was there. My girlfriend was there, every single day. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better support system than what I had. My church was praying for me, and I knew it was going to be long, and it was going to hurt, but I knew that God can do miracles. Because after my crash, I kind of realized why this happened to me. And I just thought about the night before. God spoke to me. This is why I did this. And that's why I'm speaking tonight. I mean, I feel like God is using me to speak to people through this. I mean, this is my testimony. The recovery process, I knew that I would have to go through physical therapy and a bunch of stuff like that. But the amount of time that it took compared to the amount of time that we thought it would take, it didn't take nearly as long as we thought. I was walking 2 or 3 months after, and it was God. God was working.
Now, anytime that, you have these things happen in your life where you deal with this mindset of how you're viewing God one day, and then how this catastrophic accident happens and you're viewing God the next day. In that time of being alone, and in that time of just being you, when no one else was really around in your thought process, were you mad at God? Were you upset? Were you mad at yourself? How did you navigate your emotional state of mind through all of those things?
I think I was more mad at myself more than anything. But I'm also glad that this happened, because I don't want to say it was a lesson, but it really was. I wasn't living the way that God wanted me to live. And if you knew me before the crash, I'm almost a completely different person than who I am now. I was mad at myself for being so naive and stupid, but I also want this to be a lesson to all of you guys. You need to keep God first. That's what he's been laying on my heart for the weeks coming up. The past few weeks. You always need to keep God first in everything you do. If you do that, he will be great. He will do amazing things for you. And you just always need to remember that. Because before my crash, I didn't have God first. I had myself first. I was always doing things for me and doing things for the instant gratification. And that's not the way that God wants you to live. That's not who he wants you to be. You need to keep God first, and great things.
So if one of these students or even one of these leaders were to come to you and just sit down and have a conversation and say, Alex, I'm in a place right now where I'm really where you were. I'm doubting. I come from a rough situation. I come from a rough background. I just have stuff in my life right now that is really difficult, and I'm having a really hard time navigating that. How do I take practical steps in keeping my faith strong with God? Because the thing is they hear me every week, and they hear Ryan and they hear all these leaders. But from someone that's a student that lives in their world, that understands their culture, that is with them all the time, what is some practical things that you can encourage these students and students that will watch this later on? What are some things that, just practical ways of keeping strong in that faith that they can do to help them?
One thing, the main thing that has really helped me keep strong in my faith is just talking to God. Anytime you hear someone say, oh, you need to pray, you need to always pray, you have this, you think of it a certain way, like, oh, I need to talk to him professionally, or you just need to, like, there's a certain way that you need to talk to God, but that's not the truth. You need to talk to God like he's sitting right next to you, like I'm talking to you, I'm talking to the crowd. You need to talk to God like he's a friend, because he is. And when you do that, you will get answers. You will get talked to in return. He will speak to you on a level that you've never been spoke to before. He will guide you in the things that you need to do. If you have a pressing issue, he will help you figure that out.
Has your viewpoint changed on how you see every day? Like from, a year ago, you would wake up and you would view a day as a certain way, and now you went through this accident, you went through the recovery, you you're at a different place in your relationship with God and your maturity as a person. How do you view today differently than you did last year at this time?
It's so crazy. Even like simple things like sometimes when I'm driving to school and maybe the sky is really pretty, I just think, God created that. That's beautiful. But just things that you used to look over and not pay much attention to, say like a pretty sky. You look at it through the eyes of God then. Once you're close and once you have this relationship, he helps you see things through his eyes. And I can't tell you how amazing it is to see people, how God sees people, to see nature, how God sees nature. Amazing. Just the complete difference that he makes when you have him.
You know, a lot of times when these type of situations happen, the people that we have around us are, you know, our family, our friends, someone we're in a relationship with. How has that changed? How has that level of relationship with the people that were, you know, that were there for you, that were supporting, but also, you know, your family, your girlfriend, all these things. How has your relationship with them changed from last year to this year because of this accident?
I've always had a extremely supporting family. I mean, they've always been there. They're back there. But they've always been here for me. And I couldn't ask for a better family, better friends, a better girlfriend. They all came through. They all did exactly what I expected. I mean, exactly what I wanted them to do. I mean, they mean the world to me because they were there for me in my lowest point. And
Yeah. Let me shift gears just a little bit. Let me ask you this. So music is a huge part of your life. How has this affected your passion and love for your giftings and your music and things that that you love to do?
well, I've always been like into music. I've always loved music. And worship has always been something that was there. And worship is such a great part of your relationship with God. I mean, it's your time to give back to him for the things that he's done for you. And that's the way that I look at it. Anything that he's done for you in your life, it is now your duty to use the talents that he's given you and give back to him. Show him how much you care about him and how much you love him. He died on the cross. Jesus died on the cross for you guys and for all of us. That's something that we have to repay him. We have to repay, but there's no way, really, except for worship. That's how I view it. That's how I see. And my abilities on the instruments and singing, they've all came from God. I mean, I have no one else but God.
You and I have talked on numerous levels about the importance of worship, especially when we were gone. We spent a lot of time talking about worship and talking about Refuge, talking about students and atmosphere of worship, and and you made a comment to me that if I had a chance to say something to these students, like this is what I would say, and it's exactly what you just said on that. But for the students or people here that are that are just going through a hard time, just in general, can you just speak some encouragement over them and just, because you wanted to share your heart with them. And so is there anything, as we're going to kind of close out here in a couple of minutes, is there anything that you want to share with these students about how important, the relationship is, how important, worship is? I know we talked about those things, but anything else you would like to share with them that we've discussed before?
So no one's going to be perfect in their relationship with Christ. That's how humans are. That's how we are. But you can't think like that, because that will stop you from achieving what he wants and how much he wants out of you. If you have the thought process like, oh, I'm going through a hard time right now and God's not with me, he really is. He's right there beside you. And you need to remember that and just remember to keep him first. I mean, that's kind of my theme. You need to keep God first, and he will do miracles, as he's done with me.
And so this is a little bit about, what Alex went through a year ago today. And we mention this a lot, but we never really know what one of us are going through. There's really never a way to know about this story. And unless you're close to Alex, unless you spent a little time with him, you probably had no idea that a year ago, that his life could have been ended, or he could have been paralyzed, or all these multitude of things. You don't know what someone is going through or what someone is walking through. And so, I wanted Alex to share his story tonight because I want you to get an understanding that this isn't someone that is, 20 years, 15 years, 30 years down the road. This is someone that you're with every week. This is someone that you see every week, that you encounter every week, and that is, leading worship, but yet still is walking his faith out, still is struggling with certain things, still is, facing the same culture that you guys are, but yet is still making the choice every day to fall deeper in love with the Lord and to be really to be a witness unto so many other people about God's faithfulness and what he can do. Does anyone have any questions about the accident or anything they want to ask Alex before we kind of close this out? Is there anyone that would want to know anything about any of the story that happened? Going once, going twice. Yes, Brittany, go ahead. So if you didn't hear Brittany, what she asked is, obviously there was a lifestyle that he lived before this accident, and then a year ago now, there's a totally different lifestyle. So how did he make those changes? How did that affect relationships? How did that affect who he was within those making that life change, which is a really important.
I've still been tempted, beyond anything, and I still have the same temptations, same people that I'm around, but the friend group that I had before, I've slowly fallen away from, and have found new friends, closer friends, and you just look at things after a traumatic event, and maybe even not after a tragic event or traumatic event. When you really enter and dive deep into your relationship with God, you see things differently, like I was saying. You see the world around you differently. You see what's right and what's wrong more clearly. And I noticed that the people that I was around just they weren't good people. And the temptations, yeah, they're difficult, but you can get past them if you just pray.
Any other questions? All right. Well, what I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to ask you to bow your heads and close your eyes for a moment. And Alex, I'm going to actually ask you, every week I have the opportunity and privilege to pray over the students, leaders. Tonight I'm going to ask you, if you just from being where you're at, pursuing your relationship, if you can just pray over us, students, leaders, everyone in this room, and just speak some encouragement into our hearts.
God, I pray tonight for this amazing group of students. I pray that if there's anybody struggling with anything, that you help guide them. I pray that my message tonight has spoke to people, has spoke to the hurting. I pray that I bring hope. I pray that you speak to these students on a personal level and help guide them through their lives. I pray that you will do amazing things in their lives. You will show them the way. God, tonight, these students need you. Some more than others, but we all need you, God. And I pray that you speak to these kids and help them. I pray that everyone gets home safe tonight. I pray that these students aren't faced with the temptations in life that get them every time. I pray as they go home to their families that they are just a beacon of your love and compassion. And the world will see them differently. In your name I pray.
Amen. We're going to be hanging out for a while before we dismiss tonight. So if you have any questions at all, Alex will gladly, he'll talk with you. If you want him to pray with you, he'll pray with you. If you have anything that you need from leaders, please see a leader. They'll pray with you. They'll talk with you. But guys, can you give it up for Alex for sharing with us tonight his story? Make sure to continue to love one another, be there for one another.